No, I don't hear nothing. Melanated family. How are you doing, man? This is Brother Harrison back for a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I'm excited. Me and my sister Sonia Williams Lewis is back at it. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Please do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the Melanated Convo podcast. Go to precisioncreate.com for all the new shirts. We have shirts that are commemorative of this show, like we are commemorating the show and what we do here. So we have a podcast logo shirt. We have a Melanated State of Mind shirt because on this show, we are absolutely representing the Melanated State of Mind. And then I have a Black Father collection that just was released. So I have 2 or 3 shirts dedicated to Black fatherhood. I know it's a little after Father's Day. My prince came kind of late, but so what? We're going to celebrate fatherhood all year round. You feel me? So go to precisioncreate.com to check out those shirts. Also, go to precisioncreate.com if you're interested in getting your own shirts. So I have a custom t-shirt business where I can make you shirts. I can make you a logo. I can make you a flyer, whatever you may need for your business. The pricing and the structure is on the website. So go to precisioncreate.com. So you can get some of those shirts. You can get some information about what we do. Thank you for everybody for joining us today. Let's get right into it.
Yay!
Sonia Williams Lewis, my sister, how you doing?
I am wonderful. I tell you all the time that, this is such a, once we get into the groove of things, we look forward to getting together and having these conversations. It becomes, for me at least, it's one of those sacred things like, okay, we got things to talk about in this world, and I don't know why not more people are talking about the things we talking about in the world.
There we go.
So I always appreciate being able to come on and say, okay, somebody, one, having the conversation, but 2, and then other folks are listening. And so that spreads, right? Because word of mouth is golden, and there's no better advertisement than that. But I mean, finally, it's just like I said, there's so many things that are going on that are hitting us. And with this being graduation season, I think that the message that reverberated over and over again, especially for our babies, is like, y'all getting ready to go into an effed up world. And make sure that you understand who your circle is. Make sure that you create a safety net for you, so that you understand who you are. But most importantly, make sure that you cognizant of your surroundings and know that you are protecting your mental health. All of the things that we talk about. So I'm just always honored to be in this space. So thank you.
No worries at all. And then, because the news stories, sometimes people will tell me, Sonia, hey, like some of the news stories, a lot of people talk about them, or it's something that's already out there. Well, listen, it's 40-something million of us. We can all agree that we're not unified.
Right.
We're not together enough. Bottom line. So if we got to talk, if 32 platforms got to talk about the same news story to get through to the however many million people everybody's reaching, that's what we have to do because we're not unified enough. I'll change my format to something different if y'all come together. If y'all come together and stop all the bullshit, then we can change it to a narrative that's slightly different. But police violence, predators in our community, how people treat us, enough of us don't take it serious enough until something happens to somebody in our family. So this ain't complaining. We need to discuss what's going on to ignite a fire under somebody's ass. Some people need a certain news story or a certain angle or a certain personality to make them say, you know what? Not only am I upset, but I'm going to do something. So this is the Do Something show. And I don't care where you heard. If I hear certain news stories 50 times, that's not enough because we're not doing it. You know what I mean? So we need to change the narrative in our communities, and then the content and how we create things will change as well. So I'm happy to be back. We're going to continue to do this. And this is strictly out of love for my people. You feel me? So we're going to continue to do this. So hit that like button, subscribe to the Melanated Convo. Let's go. And the topic of the show, the theme of the show, is protecting Black women and children from predators and the Negroes in our community. There's Black men and women who conduct themselves a certain way where we need to pull a coattail. We're going to talk about a story where things got a little tragic, Sometimes things have to happen. Like we have to protect our women, we have to protect our children.
Right.
Men have to protect the people around them too. So we'll talk about some of that today. Now, the first story, talking about predators, Sonia.
Yeah.
This is a story out of, hold on one second, let me pull this up. Because a 41-year-old man named Russell Cheeves, right? He's communicating online with this young black girl who's 14 years old, and he pretty much abducted this young woman for a couple weeks, I understand, right? So police have apprehended a man who made advances to a 14-year-old black girl using a dating app, then allegedly lured her to his home where she stayed for 3 weeks, y'all. Now, Gwinnett County Police reported that the girl went missing on May 24th, which was the last day of school in her school district in Gwinnett County within metropolitan Atlanta. She was then lingering around the parking lot. Cameras can see her lingering around the parking lot. She cut her phone off. So obviously either she was waiting for this dude or this dude got there and subdued her to get her with him, whatever the case may be. But her phone was turned off. She wasn't active on social media. And it took weeks, Sonia, for investigators to get information that finally led them to the teenager's whereabouts. Now, they went to the home on Sanders Drive in Monroe, Georgia, and arrested 41-year-old Russell Cheeves. Cheeves is charged with enticing a child for indecent purposes and interference with custody. Clayton County arrest records state that he faces an additional charge for child molestation because, according to the court records obtained by local news station 11 Live, Cheeves had sex with this young girl numerous times during that encounter. So, Sonia, both of us have kids. We don't have girls, right? But we have young women around us. We have young women that we care about. This can happen to a boy too. Let's not get it fucked up. This can happen to a boy.
Let's not get it twisted.
So, looking at a situation like this, knowing social media, everything our kids go through, we try to warn them about, hey, be safe. Let me block this type of app, whatever the case may be. What were some of the things you thinking when you seen this news story?
You know, when I saw this news story, I'm like, so even though I always want to defer to where's her tribe, where's her circle, where are her friends, where's her family, where's her community? I sometimes feel for us parents who just are not in the know of what our kids are going through. Like, and so where's that disconnect happening? Where's that disconnect happening when her mother and father don't have mother, father, or guardian, whoever the adult support system is in her life, doesn't have that check-in system? Like, when were you, like, how long did it take for you? These are questions that's rolling through my mind as a parent. Like, how did baby girl slip through the cracks, right? But then also leading up to that, what were the things going on in her life where there's some voids? And so that's I think the question that oftentimes, okay, yes, she's missing. Now we have to be active and find her. But there had to be some things prior to that to give us some clues about, why.
What happened?
Like, why are you on this dating app? Why are you not doing atypical things that teenagers are doing? Because I don't subscribe to what's normal, right? But atypical of what teenagers are doing. And the conversations that I have with kids in community, current and presently, because that's part of my wheelhouse and my expertise is being former teacher of high school students for so many years. They need those adults in their lives to be like checking in on them. Are you okay? What's going? I noticed you a little off.
Wait, so real quick, Sonia, what? Because this is according to the news story. So her phone was off. She wasn't on social media for the day. So how do you think a parent can approach that or how serious should a parent take it when you've been talking to your kid on the phone every day for months? They always answer. They always FaceTiming you. Now you try to call them 3 times, 4 times. They don't pick up the phone. What should be the course of action? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm saying to parents right now today, in every parent engagement seminar that I do, group session that I do, is you need to create a system now. It's like, remember back in the day when we had our safety plans? Like, I don't know about you. My mama was, she worked. She was a single mother. We were latchkey kids. I wore my house key on a piece of yarn around my neck. Tuck that shit in. Don't take that out. Don't let nobody know that you're going home by yourself. But we had safe words. Like if somebody was in the house, like we knew that the phone was going to ring like 5 minutes by the time she timed us to get home. So she knew how long the walk was or if we rode the bus. And she called us 5 minutes after to giving us instructions on our snack. Take your school clothes off because you know what? You know, that kind of stuff. Don't mess them school clothes up. But we had a system. We had also people that we could identify that if it was an emergency, we can go to them. And so, you know, part of me hates the fact that we are in this digital age where everything is like right there, right? The cell phone, everything, we rely on it so heavily. But technology is a beautiful thing, especially in cases like this. You can ping the location. You can, even when a phone is off, you can start tracking. You can look at the history where that person has been online and things like that. So I'm not saying that it's anything against what they did and how they responded. I'm just saying that we need to be proactive and have something in place sooner rather than later, and be having these ongoing conversations with our children. First thing that we're doing is like, who are all her friends, calling them, when is the last time you saw her? Having that relationship with those parents of those friends, making sure that those like the lines of communication, like this is what I do at my house. And if your kid gonna be at my house, this is what they're gonna be exposed to. Can you tell me if my child was at your house? What are some things?
High level of involvement, because a lot of times we're not involved. Well, let me say it this way. Technology, I think everybody listening to me, technology relaxed all of us. Absolutely. Let's just all admit it. What you was just talking about, Sonia, was a time when communication had to be different because we couldn't ping you. Right. We couldn't call you. We couldn't look on your Instagram and see what you're doing and shit. We had to call the phone. And a home phone, you was there. I knew you was there. less levels of technology required a higher level of accountability, because you couldn't tell me your phone was dead or it was off. No, a house phone gonna ring all day long, no matter what's going on. You see what I'm saying? So parents need to realize, and look, I've been guilty of having moments where my life is a lot. Yeah. And now I get to, like, I'm on autopilot with my kids. Yeah. I've even had the mistake of, because I got boys. Now this was a little girl. And I got and my soul hurts sometimes because I got granddaughters, and I've never treated none of my kids. My youngest son, 15, oldest, 24. Right. Never treated none of my kids like I treat my granddaughters. I don't like walking. I don't like letting them walk sometimes. I don't like letting them walk behind me. I don't like letting them walk without holding my hand. I don't like letting them go outside. But I treat them a little differently. And I think parents, yes, treat the girls like that. But let's dig into the boys the same way, because I've got lax with my kids, and I see how you trust your kid. You see them every day. You know they don't go without nothing. But some of these kids be lying. So let's keep it real. Some of these kids will say, I'm going to A, but I'm actually going to B. Absolutely. You see what I'm saying? Absolutely. So tracking the phone, talking to the friends, letting them know how serious stuff is, all of this can be useful, because this could have been even more tragic. Like this young woman, everybody, we're talking about a young woman in Atlanta, Gwinnett County, like a suburb outside of Atlanta. She was pretty much abducted by a 41-year-old white man that she was talking to online. This white man brought her to his house, had sex with her for 3 weeks, or she was there for 3 weeks. This is tragic, and who knows the type of counseling or what she's going to have to go through mentally to kind of deal with this. So we can't get some of these moments back. As a parent, man, I'm so understanding of young Black parents who lose their way or not understand the severity of certain things until it's too late. You know, now you have to retract and kind of pick up the pieces, but sometimes the damage can be done already.
Absolutely. And I think there's a testament to what you just said when we're specifically talking about young parents, because there is no prescription, right? There's no to-do manual that you have like on deck to be like, when do this go here? When go here?
Mm-hmm.
If all
Mm-hmm.
else fails, do that. There's no instruction manual. We as individuals are all different, and our children are all different. And even though we try our best to treat them the same, we know, consciously, that they are not the same. I had to
Yeah.
learn that the hard way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
woo, like one child being uberly like, shoot, I like the attention, so punish me, that kind of thing.
That
Whereas,
happens. That happens now. Sonia, real quick. The somebody asking my guy QG who tuned into the show last week. How you doing, brother? He's asking, was a girl there the entire 3 weeks and parents couldn't find her? That's true. She was there for 3 weeks and they couldn't find her. Now imagine that. Imagine 3 days, 2 days going by. 3 days going by, 4, and you can't find your baby because in the back of our mind, like watching TV and shit, they'd tell you once it hit a certain number of days, the chances of you finding them alive is
right?
slim to none. So think about that amount of anguish, QG, where what parent could sleep at night?
Yeah.
Knowing my baby is out there and I have no idea where they are. You know what I mean? So that's nerve-wracking to even think about that.
I can't even think about that. I really can't. And as I was saying, that when we have these norms and ways that we treat them, I think like the approach to safety, I don't care male, female, I don't care how old you get, like I don't care if you grown and living out my house. Like, still there needs to be, I think that's a responsible connection to our babies. It's they never are our babies. They're never not our babies, right?
Never.
They are
That's
always
never not our babies.
They're always the beautiful humans that we brought into this world. And so that level of concern, I feel for, because I know that one day that I'm gonna really, really have to send one of mine off somewhere, right? And one of the ladies at the graduation this weekend was talking about, we need a parent support group. I was like, girl, let them go, let them do their thing. Because I was that independent kid, right? But me and my mama had a routine. It was a ritual. If I didn't call, she was a pole working mama. And she would have went to hell to high water to get herself to Atlanta any kind of way if she thought that my routine was off in any kind of way and that I was unsafe. She would have.
Yeah.
She just would have. But that's where I think a lot of us as parents, we get caught up in the rat race and we get so just consumed by making money. Like, sometimes kids don't care how much money you got.
Come on now. So Simone Lewis commented, Black women and children are easy targets. Thank you for tuning into the show. Simone. Black women and children are easy targets for predators because they're some of the least cared about people in society. This is an absolute fact. This is an absolute fact. Now, because what we always talk about, not just on this show, but a lot of Black spaces I pay attention to, they'll highlight, there's so many missing Black women that I've never seen a missing Black woman on a billboard. I'm waiting to see it. I've seen about 4 white women on the billboard. Never seen a Black missing woman on the billboard. You know what I mean? So so Simone Lewis, this means, because looking outside of the community for help, that may be a lost cause, y'all. I'm sorry to tell you that. We gotta look within. So when we know we're some of the least protected, then we gotta create a net around our children, because we know the police and the authority figures they're gonna drag their feet. They're gonna ask hella unnecessary questions. Not like if little Becky gets snatched. Little Becky gets snatched, you're gonna see commercials and shit. But with us, what was you doing, mama? Where was you at? Not saying that happened in this situation, but that happens too much. So how about we create a safe net? That's why the name of the show is Protecting Black Women and Children, because as the men in our society, our mind gotta be right, so we can help not just our family. I want people to get to the point where they're secure enough in the structure they've created in their family, where they can say, you know what, now I got to go out and help people. Now I got to take what I did in here that's working. I got to go outside and help. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm hoping if this was a situation where this little girl was forced into that vehicle, because we know she was she was communicating with this guy, so she may have fell up under the auspices, he's cool or whatever. She could have willingly went with him. But we need to get to a point that if, let's say she's kicking and screaming or having a hard time trying to get in the car, and we see this as black men, as black people, we see this, we got to stop what we're doing and act, because that's your sister too. And that now, because I know if it was your daughter, you would do it. But even if it's not your daughter, you see somebody that looked like us in trouble, you got to help out. You feel me? So I pray for this.
Let me say one more thing, and that is, after reading the article, I sometimes question, and I realized that this was Atlanta Black Star, and so I'm going to say this with love, but I have so many questions, like as a concerned person, as a concerned parent, as a former educator, I have so many questions. Like she stayed there for 3 weeks. Like, okay, where's the point where we as a community, especially us, holding ourselves accountable to what's going on in the world and the dangers that exist and are constantly a threat at our back? When do we stop giving grace to predators? Because the police were obviously involved, so that tells me that someone alerted the police, whether it was the parents, the school, whoever, right? So someone alerted the police. But the language used in the article, and maybe this came from other news sources, because oftentimes when we have Atlanta Black Star, they get the information from another news source, so they don't have complete discretion in writing the article. I just don't appreciate starting off reading an article. Police apprehended a man who made advances to a black 14-year-old girl using a dating app. They allegedly lured her to his home when she stayed for 3 weeks. That implies, right, that, okay, even if she was like, okay, I'm going with you, he's still a predator. At the end of the day,
the soft viewing of the article. I see.
Right.
I see. Yeah.
I want you to leave this news story with this scumbag predator, this nasty ass old 41-year-old man lured a 14-year-old baby. That's the kind of language that I want. I want there to be
straight to the point
when we're talking about black girls. And I don't think that there's enough seriousness when we talk about black girls, black women, and how to protect them and look for them and keep them safe. Because again, if this were Becky and she was 14 or 18, 21 even, it would have been the narrative would have been different.
Damn, that's very interesting, Sonia, because I didn't know he was a predator until about almost 2 paragraphs in.
Right.
See, I don't mind reading, so I'm reading it, but you're absolutely right. It was like 2 paragraphs. You got the name, till you got what happened. They were soft shoeing it like this is a sports story.
Right.
When how we speak and how we give it up, you go right into what happened, because this is a predator. We need to be, to me, like, that's why I'm happy we talk about news stories.
Yeah.
Because they should be cautionary tales about what we need to do with our babies. Don't soft shoe it. You don't even need all them words. Give me the facts. And if you're Atlantic Black Star, not to shit on y'all, I like y'all website, but let's get right to it. Let's get right to it about our people. I know you got to be professional. There's journalism, there's journalistic integrity and all this shit, but jump right into it, because this is tragic. I'm happy you telling us about the story, but jump right into it. So that's an absolute fact, my sister. Now, next thing I want to talk about real quick, and this is going to be a quick one, but because me and Sonia talk about police and their perception of us, but we're talking about protecting Black women and children in a police department in Georgia. This is in Georgia as well. Same place we talk about the other day. A policeman in Georgia is catching flack because they're basically using images. Yeah, they have a new class of cadets coming through, and they're doing like the fire safety training, where they're doing the firearm training. I mean, in the pictures of the individuals they're using when they do firearm training is pictures of a Black man in a beanie looking like a thug. Right now, they tried to come out and clean it up, Sonia, and basically say, we use white targets, we use Black targets, but in this situation, the target they're shooting at is Black, and this is completely problematic. Like we were talking about before we started the show, Sonia, our problem with the police force in America, in the creation of the police force in America, like this has been a problem for us since we've gotten here. And one of the biggest problems is the perception and the stereotypes surrounding Black life. So putting up a picture of someone Black is furthering that way of thinking. We already got police officers who don't live around us.
Right.
This is that's one of the biggest problems to me. These are not people of the neighborhood.
Right.
They don't live around us. So you're feeding into the propaganda about Black stereotypes. If you show them a picture of a Black person, I would say if you're going to show a picture of you don't even need a goddamn picture of a criminal to shoot it. If you want to shoot the body, I think they put a person, Sonia,
yes,
because they want people to be able to shoot different parts of a body. I get it.
Absolutely.
Put up a silhouette. You understanding how the human mind works. We're visual people. So if we see something and it's visually, it looks like a criminal and it's Black, it's white, you shouldn't have a person. It should just be a silhouette of anything, like a silhouette of a person. Don't put a color on it, because that can lead to some negative things. Don't you think, Sonia?
Absolutely. I tell us all the time when we have these conversations is that the mind is a brilliant muscle, just like when we go to the gym and work our biceps and we doing those curls, they get used to the weight at such and such, right? And so they're expecting when you get to that bar and you lift it, however you're doing your curls, they're expecting a certain amount of weight. And if it's lighter, they're going to respond different. If it's heavier, it's going to respond differently. The brain is no different. It is a muscle as well. And if you condition the brain to see Black people, the assumption, regardless of where you've come from, how you've been raised, if you ain't never done nothing, spoke nothing racist and negative, the brain is conditioned to respond to Black people with your gun out. So it's not like, why you asking me why I got my gun out? Because you were right. So we are absolutely, so Simone said, viewed as disposable, right? This is the reality. So if we are really and truly wanting to change the dynamic, change the conversation, change the lens even of what trainings look like when we're talking about law enforcement, this has to be part of the conversation. Part of the conversation has to be like, one, we're doing constant psychological checks to see if the conditioning has gotten stuck in such a way that the target is always Black people. Right? Because we know that this to be the case. Studies are still being shown about the number of Black folks in Black communities who are being pulled, or the number of Black folks in community period who are being pulled over for traffic stops, right? And that there's still higher numbers of Black folks. So I'm just saying that if Philando Castile have been given the benefit of the doubt, right, he'd be alive today. A man who legally had a license to carry his weapon even in his vehicle, who tells the officer who asked him, do you have a gun? He says, yes, in my glove compartment. And you bang,
right?
Because
this is the fact.
The conditioning is, I see you, Black man, and you say, yes, I got a weapon, so you are an automatic threat. That's the condition.
Automatic threat. Yep. And this is, and that pictures like that perpetuate this. And, to me, with the origination of police departments being slave catchers, it kind of, and this is in the South, and then it went to the North, and it took different shapes to become the police department we have now. But history does a great job of repeating itself. It shouldn't if changes are made, but that's what we're witnessing here. So when it comes to protecting our women and children, everybody needs to be aware of, like, because the police departments conduct themselves this way, and they create such a stigma around race, we need to be on code with each other. So that's why me and you've talked about this before. If you at your house having a dispute with a family member, no violence, just a dispute, y'all arguing, can't get along, do not call the police. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm not ready to tell you to do that yet. I don't trust them yet. They haven't done nothing, because here's the problem with police in different institutions like this. Somebody will say, hey, all police aren't bad. And I'll say, okay, I concur. You may say there are some who attempt to fight justice, some who don't even want to be in that circle of cops who doing foul shit. But how do I know who's gonna show up?
Right.
Does his badge got a little something on it that show me? Do it got a little Black Lives Matter sticker on his badge so I can know he here to actually protect me? Hell no. It's such a case by case basis. If we've seen too much, where we call the cops because my uncle acting crazy. My uncle who's mentally ill, we call the cops because we say, hey, we need somebody to come help us because we don't know if he's gonna touch one of us. We don't want him to hurt himself.
Right.
Cops come and shoot his ass. Cops come and kill him. This has happened multiple times. So it's like it's backfiring. These people who are put here to protect and serve, they not really protecting and serving like that. And then negative energy travels faster. It like reverberates faster. So if you have a handful of negative ones, but a couple who trying to do the right thing, the negative shit is gonna always outweigh it. So family out there, be cautious about dealing with the police department. Show respect to people who show respect to you.
Yeah.
In all walks of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I have we don't call it anybody who come up in my house and you befriend my family at whatever level. I'm really having a conversation with you. Won't fuck with the police like that. So I'm gonna expect that if you get into your feelings, you need to figure out a way for you to leave the dynamics because we ain't calling the police over here. And likewise, I'm not gonna call the police on you. Right. So we off the rip, we having the conversation about that just in general. But I think that we have as folks, and you and I have talked about this, and folks, go back into the archives and see some of these shows and the conversations that we've had, because we've really touched on some of these things, but and they can't be said enough. At the end of the day, yes, police officers come from a history of being slave patrol. But we, in our attempts to make it out of the proverbial hood, we got to look a certain kind of way when we get into them new hoods. We got to act, what does dignified look like to you, right? And so I'm having this, this struggle myself. I took my kids out of South Sacramento. Well, I shouldn't say ever took them. I grew up in South Sacramento. I grew up in Oakland, and then we landed. You know how Malcolm has said, the Plymouth Rock didn't land on us. Whatever that line is. We landed in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And I was not happy about landing in Sacramento. And once I graduated high school, I was out of here with jet skis on. But what I knew as a teenager, this is not how I want to live. Like, I saw enough around me that this is not how I want to live. And while people in the hood, they like, that's our girl. Like, she coming back, she do things in the hood. She makes sure that we good. But there was a point in life where I was like, I ain't going back because that's negative. It's toxic. I don't want that to be my fate. So we have to be very intentional about not falling into the trap of elitism, us Black folks, because it's just as dangerous as racism. Because then we begin to think that we do good for them folks in the hood. So when we have our family reunions and stuff, and we getting together with the other people in the family, and then you see our kids hanging over here, and then they kids, I'm like, why you ain't playing together? Y'all the same age. So we do ourselves a disservice to completely disconnect ourselves from the roots that we have. And one thing that I hate is seeing us treat us like we ain't shit. Where's cold? I don't know how we got to that place, but I mean, but part of me, I got a degree in history, so I know about the talented 10th, right? And those who going to get their pursuit of education in all these positions in the world, because we want equality to the white man. Bump that. Like, I just want to be respected. I want to be accepted. I want my voice to be heard. I'm not trying to be equal to the white man, because in my opinion, the white man is evil. They devils, they violent. And if we were the same, we just a different breed. But if we were the same, like I say all the time, our get back game would have got back.
Obviously, you know what I mean? And we're not speaking about all white people, but too many of them. How about that?
Yeah.
Too many of them, and too many of them that are in powerful positions
Yes.
who kind of induce a lot of this behavior. So family, look, be cautious with police and be respectful to people who are respectful to you, but be on code. Like even in situations where we have interactions with cops where, in my opinion, if you have a gun as a cop and I don't have a gun, I'm behind enemy lines. It's almost being in the army and being caught by whoever y'all fighting. Like you gotta conduct yourself a certain way to get out of that. Like I don't want you to kowtow or don't be true to who you are, but at the same time, the system wasn't made for you. So if you find yourself in a particular situation, regardless of how you act, you can become the bad guy or the person who the fault gets put on, when in actuality you was in the right. That's why unifying and conditioning ourselves to say, I have a tribe of Black people behind me. If I leave this incident, I just need to leave this incident safely, and then my tribe will help me out, whether that's a legal matter or whether that's going in a different direction. Like we got to be willing to go there. We're going to talk about a story in a few minutes that kind of highlights to me the fact that we quick to touch one another. If we feel disrespect by somebody that look like us, we're going to go all out to defend what we do, and we're going to go all out in violence and everything. But if you seen George Zimmerman come in a liquor store you at, what you going to say to him? What you going to do to him? So we got to look at the love we have for our family and the respect we have for ourselves and translate that shit into everybody in the community. You feel me? So know that police officers are out here looking at you a particular way because you Black. So be cautious. I don't mean see a cop and buck on them or immediately assume they're nefarious, but your eyes and your ears gotta be open. Your phone gotta be ready to record. You got to be ready to call somebody in your family. You got to be on alert. Like war may be about to start. How ready are you? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how we have to see it. Now, one more thing before we get to the main thing I want to talk about. Like me and Sonia was talking about this past weekend, I put on Netflix, right? Put on Netflix. My granddaughter was at the house. I do this a lot where I find a quick show and I just throw the show on. This is something I'm never going to do again. Found a quick show called Ada Twist Scientist. Now, granted, to be fair, I've read some things. What I'm finna mention about this show is the first time it happened on this show, and maybe any show like it. Besides that, the show seemed to be like a pretty okay cartoon. But the bottom line is, I put the show on, Sonya and my homeboy called me right back and said, whoa. Babies can't watch this. Let's record what we about to see. I didn't know what he was going to show me. On this show, Ada Twist Scientist, there's a scene on the cartoon where two men get married. Not just that they get married, like, because I remember watching cartoons as a kid in animated shows, and I've never seen a man and a woman kiss on the show. I could be wrong. It could be my purview of what I've seen. Never seen them kiss, never seen them be intimate. On this show, not only did the two men get married, but they kissed. And another caveat, someone informed me that all parents out there, Netflix may have a something that shows when you put on the show, showing that it's all inclusive, or something hinting to you that the show could show something that has some LGBTQ type of scenery in it. So you may want to back off if that's something you don't want to show your kid. If that's the case, everybody look for that. But showing a small child, two men kissing, something about this feels unhealthy. And this is me who, if a family member, let's be clear, if a person around me tells me they're gay or lesbian, bi, whatever, I'm gonna be there for you if you're my family. That shit don't bother me. Like, I'm gonna make sure you're safe. I'm gonna make sure your mental health is where it need to be. But the propaganda surrounding the LGBTQ, all the damn letters, the propaganda surrounding this movement is weird to me. So you're like, when Obama was president and he came out and basically said he's okay with gay marriage. At the time, it was off-putting to me, but I'm like, whatever. Maybe there's something he felt. Maybe these people need justice, whatever, right? I'm an African in America who didn't been fucked over, so I'm gonna look at other people who've been through stuff and say, you know what, maybe this individual needs help too. But man, in America, everything surrounding the lesbian and gay movement. Sometimes I feel like they moving faster than us. Sometimes I feel like they getting justice quicker than we do. Now, every show I cut on, literally 90% of the shows I watch have some type of gay scene in it. And look, y'all, I don't trust this country. It's not that I got anything against anybody gay, but I don't trust this country. So I'm like, okay, why are you doing this? Every time you watch something, every time you see an influx of one thing being presented to you by the media or the world we live in, Sonia, shouldn't you be thinking, why is this happening?
Absolutely. I think that we need to question everything. And so what I'm hearing is two things here. And I just want to be clear for the folks who are listening. Two things. One, that there is propaganda and there is this agenda that seems to be being pushed. And even as my kids, and my kids are, they range in age. And when I say kids, I include my nephews who are as old as 32. And so these is my kids. And we have these conversations. So my adult kids in my life, they range in age from 32 to 22, right? And so I hear them sometimes, specifically like my 25, my nephew who's 24 and 21. They have these conversations about like legitimately feeling that they are being pushed out the narrative when it comes to relationships, and that being a cisgender, a straight man in America, a straight Black man in particular, there's not enough emphasis on who we are and how we matriculate throughout society. So that's one thing, right? What is the agenda and the propaganda around this narrative, or the sharing of, or the inclusiveness even of the LGBTQIA? So that's one thing. The second thing that I hear you saying, Harrison, is we as Black people, as a collective, haven't even got to a place where we feel the comfortability and the justice and accepted in this country. But you're seeing this group have strides that have surpassed us. And I want to say that these two things are not mutually exclusive. They can intersect, because we do know that there are Black folks who are part of the LGBTQ community. This was like by happenstance. I wore this hat that, has the rainbow, but it says human. And it's just by happenstance. I like the hat. So when I was in the store and I bought this hat, the lady was like, "Oh, that's for Pride Month." And like, she was like, kind of like, I didn't know that. I'm like, duh. Right? So I think that we become, or we have become too sensitive. And I know that's not the right word, but I want you to get the gist of what I'm saying. We've become oversensitized to thinking that someone else's progress is against our progress, right? So and we have to keep that narrative in the conversation. I also want to say that to my folks out there in doing community work, because when I'm doing community work, Harrison, unfortunately, the folks that show up, and when I say community work, I'm saying community work that is talking about the equity for Black folks. The people who show up are Black women and Black LGBTQ people.
You told me that before.
And not for not wanting to include Black men in those spaces. I think that Black men oftentimes, and I was having this conversation with one of my Morehouse brothers recently, is that he had shared with me that his children have been calling him racist and sexist. And I was like, let's unpack that a little bit, right? Because too often I'm hearing Black men in particular say that this infringes upon, who I am, and why am I not included? And I'm saying we need to make spaces for you to be included. I need represent. I'm the mother of 6 boys. I want them to feel represented, but I don't want them to feel like in order to do that, you got to take away someone else's representation. There's a commercial that's been running, and I, for the life of me, I own several of the normal local TV channels, and it's about protecting the Jewish history of the Holocaust. And I'm thinking to myself, well, damn, Black folks went through a way worse Holocaust than the Jews did. But then I had to take a step back and not be in my feelings, facts over feelings, right? The fact of the matter is, the Jewish have been able to get reparations. The Jewish community is very intentional about we ain't repeating this shit. Whereas we haven't, unfortunately, been giving that power because our proximity to whiteness is devoid.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing that I
Mm-hmm.
can say about this agenda and the propaganda around LGBTQ is that the agenda is white centered
It is.
LGBTQ.
Yes.
And we have to take that. And I hear that from folks who are Black in the LGBTQ community be like, well, shit, they ain't representing us.
Yes.
We didn't put that
See?
narrative together.
So I
So
think that was perfectly said. So I think it's a systematic issue.
yeah.
So it's not even about anybody who starred on that cartoon,
Right.
the actors,
Right.
people who got paid, the people who were doing their art. Nothing. My thinking isn't aimed at anyone individually.
You
But
just want to be known.
propaganda,
You want it to be told, like, can I get a warning?
can I get a warning? And the propaganda that's put on us by the United States. Now, this is the LGBTQ situation. This is when it comes to the wars that we participate in. You can pick the situation, but propaganda is pushed on us by companies and people who are in the elite. I don't like that. So I'm there because you mentioned that. And before you even told me that, as far as some of our gay brothers and sisters who are at the center of a lot of these movements, I don't knock that. And I believe that. I've seen that with my own two eyes. So I don't want anyone who lives that lifestyle to feel like this is an attack on them, because I think there should be a balance. Because, and I tell people this who are close to me, I don't think people who are gay, for the most part, are choosing this lifestyle. How you feel is how you feel. So I want you to feel represented, though. I want you to don't feel like nobody like me in this world. Like nobody's looking out for me. Nobody understands what I'm going through. See, so there has to be a balance, because I want you to feel represented, but at the same time, I don't like how these corporations are presenting stuff. Like it just seems weird. I've seen a news story where they had like transgenders reading like books to kids in the first grade or second grade. I'm looking into these things. Like, I'm wondering, what are you doing this for? I want to assume that America is genuinely doing this to benefit people from this community, but I don't trust the government. So I don't know what they
and I love that you said it that way, because at the end of the day, we can't trust them, right? We can't. The history has shown itself that it's just not in our best interest. And while we say all day long, like I do, I consider myself to do a really, really good job with how I approach people in general. I don't care what your background is, what your sexual identity, that's not, at the end of the day, if I don't have to sleep with you, why should I be caught up on who you are as an individual? As long as you are a human, I'm fighting for you. As long as you are human and Black, I'm extra gonna fight for you. I mean, equity across the board is important to me, but equity when it comes to Black folks is really, really uberly important to me. And so I like, what happens to the kids who go home from school and they got mommy and mommy or daddy and daddy who are raising them? They need to know, their friends need to understand, don't shun me. Their friends need to, and so propaganda is part of this, and that messaging is important. But I think that we have to do a better job. Like, I didn't see the whole show. I saw the clip that was sent over. But what we have to do a better job is have these conversations with our children about, like, if you got a good friend and you found out both their parents were the same gender, how would that make you feel? Like,
there we go.
I'm not sure that I've gone into that much details with my kids, but we have friends. I have a friend from the movement. She and her wife have a little Black boy who's friends with my son. They the same, and they love each other, right? But when they see the two mamas, and I've been asked by one of my sons, they're not gonna just completely shun him, the child, right? But do they have questions? We need to be, as parents and adults, to be able to answer those questions responsibly, because there are kids going home to mommy and mommy households and daddy households. We have to accept that.
Yes, and we need to prepare our kids for that. That's why I said, hey, no, let me cut this off and I'm gonna talk to his mama, and I'm gonna talk to his daddy, and let the parents know, hey, this is what's out there. Because you're right. I think the best thing, Sonia, is wanting to get to your kids first. You should get to your kids first about man on man, woman on woman. That's out there.
Absolutely.
Figure out a way to talk to them about it. Figure out a way to like broach these conversations so they don't treat people unfairly, because we have religious folks and different people in our community who feel like that's going against God's will and all this different type of shit. I'm gonna be honest, I never really had that feeling. As a man, the biggest thing for me, just to keep it real as a man, looking at a man act like a woman can be uncomfortable. This isn't, I don't dislike him. I don't have anything for a man, though. It's uncomfortable to see that, or to see men on men. It's an uncomfortable. It's not a comfortable feeling to actually see something like that, and you got to deal with why is it uncomfortable. Now, people have said maybe it's uncomfortable to you because you part of this. Is all could be a fact. But I'm keeping it real. It just makes me uncomfortable. But I have people around me who participate in that lifestyle. We cool. Like I don't even think about that when I speak to them.
Right.
But this is the LGBTQ situation in our community needs to be talked about, because that's separate. To me, we all are battling white supremacy. So I don't care who you choose to lay down with. Tomorrow we got to go fight. Are you coming?
Because they fighting us. They gonna fight us.
That's it. Are you coming? We'll talk about all the specific shit later. As long as you riding with me, being a black man, as long as you recognizing your blackness first, we can do anything. We can get this shit popping, because that's the biggest issue. I don't have a problem with nobody in that community that look like me, but the system that we live in is nefarious, and don't let them use you. Don't let them use your movements. Don't let them use any of this shit for nefarious, because they have us fighting each other. I'm not stupid. I know how it works. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna let the propaganda get to me. But I was shocked, appalled. So parents, pay attention. Talk to get to your kids first. Look at the show. Make sure you know what's on it. Then have the conversation. See how they feel about it. Even talk to the actual child. See how they feel about it. See, find out if they've seen something like that before. Get an understanding with them so they can have perspective. That's all. It's about preparation when it comes to parenting. You feel me? So, last thing we're gonna talk about, and this is the big topic I wanted to discuss with my sister. So there's a video and this is the incident that happened in Chicago, where a black woman was inside of a restaurant or some type of food spot getting some food. The video shows her having an altercation with the man about food, about getting food, something. Granted, we don't know what happened before the video or after, but based on all the report, he's having a conversation with a woman. He gets upset. They're kind of going back and forth with each other. He threatens to hit her. And then, and this is what I posted, because it's a trigger warning about these type of things online, and certain people, certain people don't want to see certain images, and I get that. And I don't post every type of violence I see, but I want to make a point sometime. Like the level, like how incorrect this was. This black man hit this woman harder than I've ever seen any woman get hit by a man. And this is a fact. So after this man hits this woman is there with her son. The son goes to the car, gets a gun. I come to find out the gun was registered in her name. So it was legal. It was a legal firearm she had. Her 14-year-old son came into the restaurant and shot this man dead. And my response to that is, I don't know what anybody wanted that young man to do. I don't know how he could have approached this differently, because me and my partner was talking about it, Sonia. If the son was 21, 23, 25, maybe he would have fought him.
Right.
Maybe he would have went there and said, I'm not watching nobody put their hands on my damn mama like this, so I'm about to jump in and get active. You know what I'm saying? But a 14-year-old, he's helpless. He's helpless, and we have to protect the women and children in our community. And what he did was predatory. That activity was predatory. That's some dusty nigga shit. We have a section of the black men in our we have a section of black men in our society that need to be checked. How they treat their kids, how they treat our women. Look, the people on the outside of the community is not gonna come in and do this. You see what I'm saying? They gonna do it on some nefarious shit. We need to do it with love. In that situation, I don't see how that young man could have handled it any different, but we got to take care of our own. And that was his mama. You can't put your hands on a woman. Now, after posting this video, I seen all kind of comments where people were saying you shouldn't argue with a man if you know a man can play or do something. This isn't the fact. We shouldn't. If a woman ain't about to kill you, I don't think there's a reason to subdue her. I don't think there's a reason to put your hands on a woman. If she's not about to kill you, stab you, shoot you, then you got to take it from her. You got to do something then. But in this situation, Sonia, looking at this man hit this woman, how do you think the 14-year-old boy was supposed to react?
I have been agonizing over this conversation when I first saw it. It was such a trigger, being the mother of 6 Black boys. I know that mine, they turn into hooligans real quick. Like, we didn't shelter them from, we may have moved them out, but we exposed him. Like, I'm not playing with you. There ain't not one of them. My 10-year-old, he ain't playing with nobody when it comes to his mama. I don't care if I have an argument with my 28-year-old last week. He is not playing when it comes to his mama. And so I think that we do a good job as Black women in making sure that our Black boys know love. But something in that Black man, somebody didn't love him. Somebody, in order for you to think that it's okay to cock your fist up at a Black woman, he witnessed somebody beat his mama, his grandmother. That was the norm. It had to be the psychological imprint on his mind to think that that's okay. But I'm telling you, Harrison, if my babies would have seen something like that, they would have fought to their death to make sure that I was okay.
What else are you supposed to do?
Right. That's exactly what they're supposed to do.
You know what I mean?
What my heart hurts at is too often our young Black boys have to make that kind of decision. And it's so not fair that they have to make that kind of decision because they've seen elder men in their community do things to violate the women in their community. And so let's be honest in what we talk about when we talk about it, right? Because that violation alone, like, I was sick by the fact that everybody ran. When he hit her the first time, everybody ran out the restaurant. I'm like, why y'all running? This is the opportunity for us to protect each other. Because my question, I had this happen. I promise you, this happened in Elk Grove. 2 kids, we're sitting at a band concert. My now 24-year-old was in band in the 8th grade. High school kids, they chasing each other because they trying to fight. They're trying to find this kid. He calls himself running into the band concert. And he sits down next to the Black family that just happens to be mine. But peep game, I'm from the hood, so I'm watching. And I'm seeing them kids outside the door, like, doing all this kind of stuff. Come on, come out, trying to egg them to come outside. And I'm watching the little boy, and I'm like, I looked over at him. I said, "You good?" He says, "Do you mind me sitting here for a little while?" I said, "I don't mind." I said, "But I'm going to need a number to your mom and dad. Somebody needs to come get you because they going to get your ass when you walk up out of here." I promise you, Harrison, one of the kids got so impatient that he sat his ass there in that and the concert had just gotten started. So no long, these kids, they impatient. One of the boys walked into the dang on auditorium and started to try to fight the boy. I stood up and I said, "Now, God damn it, I know all y'all men up in this room see what's happening right now. And I'm the only one who's attempting to break this fight up.
Come on now."
And my question loudly was, where are the men?
Wow.
Because
this is important,
in those 2 boys' lives did not stand up for them to think that it was okay for you to walk into a band concert and start beating up another kid.
This is important.
And I had a baby kid stroller right next to me. So my baby at the time was like an infant. And I'm breaking up a fight between 2 boys.
Yeah, and then Sonia, I didn't see on the video, you made an important point. I didn't see the individuals run when the fight started. But what something I was thinking was, how many men was in there?
How many men
when
were
that
there?
started? Because, and again, so we're gonna go to two different directions. How many men was in there? Does this woman have a man herself? All this is
Right.
important. Is there a man sitting at home that could have got the information and came back and handled this? Is there a man
Right.
sitting at home she could have called? See, so all of it breaks down to, damn, that's a good point you made of this young man being put in a situation, because all of it breaks down to, where are the men to protect our community? And that young boy, I'm not gonna lie, I salute him. You
Yes.
stepped up, and it's, I feel kind of both ways, Sonia, because I don't wish death on nobody. Even the
Right.
Negroes in our community who
Right.
act up, people will hate when I say this, but that's still my brother. He just
Right.
need help. He just need healing. He's been a part of this same racist ass white supremacist society as everybody else. So
Absolutely.
what's his trauma? No excuses for him, but what's
No.
his trauma? What he been through? And it's quid pro quo. Like, what you do, that shit come back to you. So what
Absolutely.
he did was foul as hell. So he can't be upset at somebody reacting that way. Because I tell people a lot of times, if you slap somebody and they sock you, who's worse? You can't control the clapback. You can't control how somebody is going to respond to your disrespect and your violence. So the brother lost his life, and I'm sure he got a family. He probably
Right.
got kids, but that's unacceptable behavior. And
Absolutely.
when you do shit in a certain manner, you can't predict how someone's going to respond. This is why you should move a certain way. See,
Yeah.
but this was in Chicago, and if our community was on point, Sonia, he wouldn't have even wanted to do that, because he would have understood, if I put my hands on this woman and
Yeah.
any black man see me, he gonna get at me. When can we get to that point?
When can we
You
get
see
to
what I'm
that
saying?
point? Yes. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, how many men were there. So two things come to mind for me, because, as a history teacher and a person with a degree with psychology, I think that black men in particular, you all tread this line so finely, and it's hard to make a decision. Do I do this or do I do that? Because we're talking about Chicago. Had any of those men potentially got at that man, we don't know the level of retaliation that's coming back to our door if we step into a situation that wasn't our fight to begin with. And so that's why these conversations are important to me, is that this is our community. And the only way for us to secure and protect our community is that, one, we're standing up and being vocal about the issues that are happening in our community, but two, be 10 toes down in the fight. Like I'm mad at I was mad at every man in that auditorium, but I'm mad at every black man that was in that auditorium who you allowed me to break up a fight between two little black boys. I'm mad at y'all because you don't say, oh, where's my place to put my hands on somebody else's child? When you see that somebody else's child is getting hurt, like, come on, common sense. We want to stop the bleeding instead of letting it flow. And that's the part that I think we disconnect ourselves from. We have been given we've been not given permission. We've been conditioned because of white supremacy to detach from our own families, our people who look like us. I can't protect that. The slave master said, make them pick more cotton. The slave master said, don't take them no food from the big house. The slave master said, go there and come back. Get yourself a treat along the way, but don't share it with nobody who look like you. The slave master
dividing. Yes.
That's the division. And that's the division that we still see to this day, is that division is so ingrained in our psyche that when we make it out the hood, we then become elitists, and we like, I don't fuck with them niggas over there. No, them niggas over there is us.
So that's my resolve. So yeah, that's where I've gotten to, because I would see black men doing shit I would consider coon behavior, disrespectful behavior, and I say banish them, get them out of the community and never bring them back. But now I'm like, wait a minute. I know the trauma. I know the trauma I had to face as a young black man in this country. What did he have to face? And me and you, one of our first conversations, you kind of broke something down to me like this. Well, look, how about we just put him in the corner for a while? How about we remove him from all of us just so he can get some get right? Like eliminating him. Like if we a tribe, let's figure out our own disciplinary mechanism between us. that don't involve nobody else. And if
Right.
somebody got to get it, I mean, if somebody is just completely not what we doing, you may have to get, it may have to turn fatal. Well, let's try some other options first.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? In this
Right.
situation, homeboy, he pushed that young man's hand. I don't know nobody else. I don't know anybody around me, anybody I've spoken to. If you see your mama get hit like that, you jumping into action. And if you have a gun, if you're in an environment where gunfire in the use of gun is so readily available, some of us wouldn't even think twice. And can I say he's wrong? I can't say he's wrong. I'm sorry. I can't say that. You see what I'm saying? So we need to learn how to the protection of the women and the children it's going to be a process, because some of us, just to keep it real, having a hard time protecting the woman and child that's around us right now. That's our family. Right. You see what I'm saying? Absolutely. So I can't go ask you to go fight for another motherfucker if you ain't even been doing it for your own family. That's why a lot of the shows I do on my own and in different forums, we're going to talk about a black man being a father to your kids. That's first. You got to protect home first. If you create a structure where you become good at it, you have a routine you've created that you see it's benefiting your family. You need to be smart about how you approach people, but we can't just allow our families to get attacked. We can't allow that type of activity with women, because like you said, in Chicago or certain cities, you can protect a black man or woman, and then the person you put your hands on can come back for you. So let's be tactful. Let's say something. Hey, what's up? Stop, jump, grab them, do something. Because me personally, me and homeboy would have fought, and then anything that happens after that happens after that. But that would have been my instinct, because I think to me that's a part of this game. Like that's a part of this black liberation movement we own. Sometimes you may have to put your neck out there. I know you got a family. You may want to protect your legacy and shit you got going on, but it's bigger. It's about all of us. And until we can, because we talk about our community back in the day when it was a village, where when I was in New Orleans, neighbors used to whoop me. Yes. People who caught me coming home, people who caught me skipping school, they would whoop me, and it was okay. We got to find a way to get back to some type of semblance of where that was an okay thing. Now if that happens, they're gonna be like, why you put your hands on my baby? Right. Well, your baby was terrorizing the damn community.
Absolutely. Likewise, your response is like, as a black man, I'm going to have a conversation with this black man. I feel the same way. I'm going to be like, sis, how can I help you in this situation? What is it that you really need? I want to be that broker. I want to be that conduit in between of what are we doing here? I would be in that line looking at everybody in that line like, okay, you get him and I'll get her, and let's try to get this situation.
Let's do something. Even because the way he hit her, we would have had to fight. Just grabbing him, we couldn't have grabbed him. He'd had to fight. Now, as a man, you gotta be ready. If he fuck you up, so what? Look, sister, I'm sorry. He got us both. Right. Shit. Right. But I'm stepping up, and the men around the community have to know, if I do said thing, the people around here gonna banish me from the neighborhood. The people around here gonna tell. We talking about gangs. The people around here gonna tell the gangs, this dude just did whatever. Now they gotta get him, y'all. Our gangs wasn't started to fight each other. I'm not on no black on black violence shit. That's some political rhetoric, but we hurt each other way quicker than we hurt people outside of our community. And this is the
keep that in mind. Why we do that, though? We know why we do that, because it's like, I can't get them, so I'm gonna get the next weakest person next to me, because I've been hurt so badly that I need to get some of this off me. And we need to figure out the ways of how do I get that off me? I don't care if it's therapy. I don't care if it's I got to go take boxing classes to get out my frustration. Exactly. I don't care if it's I have to have conversation. We got to figure out how to get that bad, I call it bad juju, that energy, that thing that we carry with us when you walk into the room and folks can read you because your face is like so frowned up and you look like you had the worst day. But I'm going to say all day long, what do my background say? It say support black women, protect black women, respect black women, elevate black women, buy from black women. Because, Malcolm X said from day one, he said the most disrespected and unsupported and neglected creature on the face of the earth is the black woman. And I'm sorry, I am a firm believer that who they have discovered were the roots of where we all come from, being on the continent of Mother Africa, that all of our DNA and mitochondria is in everybody's blood and DNA. I'm sorry. I'm going to take my royal position and assert myself. And even some black men don't like to hear that message. Like, I know who I am as a woman, right? But because the condition has been to conquer and divide, sometimes we don't know how to accept a assertive black woman. So yeah, she might have been out of pocket. She might have said something out of pocket, but I know me. I can say some out of pocket shit. And my expectation is not ever going to be, ever going to be that somebody is going to punch me in the face because my mouthpiece outshines yours. Come on.
And this sister, 35-year-old Carlicia Hood is her name. The charges have been dropped. Yes. The charges have been dropped against her and her son because the video was all the evidence that prosecutors and defense attorneys need to show that this was rightfully so. Like I think in that state, it was stating something like, if you're at risk of bodily harm, if something is happening to you in that manner, you have the right to defend yourself, family. I'm just saying, absolutely. I wish we get to the point where we defend our neighborhood against outsiders in the same manner.
Same energy.
This won't happen until we first start doing it in our community. You feel me? Yeah. So this is another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. Me and my sister Sonia Williams-Lewis. Always important conversations, man. Until we change, until enough of us are on board with us unifying, because you can go vote, you can go do a lot of things outside of the community, but if we come back to the community and it's in disarray and we don't like each other and some shit come up with somebody black and you all negative, and let's stop all that, man. Let's create unity by understanding what's going on out here, understanding how important everybody's role is. Like, everybody individual's role is important for the collective. You feel me? So this is your brother Harrison, Melanated Convo podcast. Sonia, tell everybody where they can find you and what you do.
Follow me on Instagram. I'm at Sonia Said It or at Ascribe Success. If you ever need help with your organization, the company that you work for, and you just see some stuff that just don't sit right with you, and you don't feel like you could that you even belong there, like, and they call themselves doing diversity and equity work, and I say that with quotations and very sarcastically, because I am not your traditional DEI professional. I'm letting you know that at the root of all of these issues, it is race. It is all the isms that we have been conditioned to behave and believe a certain kind of way. And we don't have to. We can unlearn that shit. And I'm saying that in the most professional way that I can. We can unlearn that shit, because that's exactly what it is.
There we go. Thank you, my sister Sonia. I'm your brother Harrison, man. Melanated Convo 100. Holla at your boy. Go to the website, precisioncreate.com, and get some shirts and holla at me, man. But we gotta talk, everybody. Everybody get on board. Talk to your family. Too much of you black folks don't give a shit about us, man. I don't like that.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Just to make it simple for
about us.
And you are me and I am you. Right. Like, when I see somebody black come in the store or something, I make eye contact. What's up? We in here. What's up? What up, boy? Hey, it's me and you in here, boy. You know what I mean? Right. Sometimes I get it reciprocated, sometimes not, but I'm not going to change that for nobody. Like, we got to be the change we want to see in the world. That's what I'm doing. You feel me? So, Melanated Convo podcast, my sister Sonia, we out.